Welcome everyone to our regular council meeting this evening, September the 18th. I would like to call the meeting to order right now. And just before we get into the regular agenda session, I have a couple of comments to make here with regards to staff appointments. So tonight I'm pleased to announce two new staff appointments. First, we'd like to congratulate Paul Vlarchuk on being appointed to the new position of Building Inspector and Bylaw Enforcement Officer in the Building Department. He is just sitting up there with our two other building inspectors, and congratulations, sir. And you got a wing on each side of you there to guide you along the way. And I'd like to just turn this over to Mr. Nepsey now, the big boss.
Through your worship, a weight or a wing on each side, but I'm just kidding. I just wanted to add further to that. Paul's been with the town about 5 years, and this is something that both Kevin and Wayne, the chief building officials for the town, have been pushing to try and expand the department, which expands the service that we provide to the residents, as well as being more proactive with property standards and whatnot. So building the succession planning into the department is something that's positive for everybody, and it'll just allow us to do a better job for everybody. So,
thank you very much for that, sir. Yep. And secondly, and certainly not least, I'm also very pleased to announce Donna Hunter's permanent appointment as Chief Administrative Officer. Go for it. No, okay. As many of you know, Mrs. Hunter has recently been serving as our interim CAO. If you follow council closely, you will also know that Mrs. Hunter has been an invaluable part of our senior administration since first coming to Essex in 2002 to serve as the town's treasurer. At that time, she brought with her many years of experience in municipal affairs and administration, having worked with the regional municipality of Peel and as the treasurer and deputy clerk for the town of Geraldton. She also brought with her a solid knowledge of the private sector, having worked as manager of regulatory accounting for Trans-Canada Pipelines, general manager and controller for Greenveld, and vice president of finance and administration for Forest Care International. As Director of Corporate Services and Treasurer for the town of Essex since 2007, Mrs. Hunter has contributed to the overall growth of the town through her efforts in building financial sustainability and establishing bylaws, policies, and practices that foster continuous improvement. She played a significant role in the transition from municipal policing to the Ontario Provincial Police and assisted with the purchase of ELK Energy. Donna, there are sure to be a few challenging moments ahead, but I have no doubt that you will continue to be an invaluable resource to council, staff, and the community. Please join me in congratulating our new CAO, Donna Hunter, on her new appointment. And at this time, Mrs. Hunter does have a couple words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank council for providing me with this opportunity. I'm excited to have this opportunity to serve this council, to serve this community, and to serve the staff. A big thank you to all Town of Essex staff for being so supportive of me, and also notably the directors, Chris Nepsey, Doug Sweet, and Jeffrey Morrison. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my family, who's also supported me very much. Thank you so much. I love you all.
Thanks for that, Donna. Okay, did I ask if there's any conflicts? Councillor? Yes, sir. Donna said she would train her. Okay, looking for the, I'll turn this over to Robert right now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item 4 is adoption of published agenda, that the published agenda for this evening's meeting be adopted either as presented or as amended. And Your Worship, I have two quick suggested amendments or additions. 6.1 was to be a presentation to Caden Blair. He unfortunately, sorry.
Okay, we'll come to you.
Okay. Caden Blair sends his regrets this evening, and so his presentation will be moved to the October 2nd agenda. And then under 7.1, the Ward Boundary Review Final Report, our Chief Administrative Officer, Donna Hunter, has asked to speak to and introduce a brief PowerPoint presentation to assist Council prior to Council deliberations or public delegations.
Okay, thank you, sir. And any further, Councillor Snively?
Through your worship, I'd like to make two notices of motion. The first one being, I thought the report would have been back this meeting here on zero development fees for Ward 4. And the other one is a report for the four-way stop at Center and Walnut. I'd like the report to come back from administration. I understand they were going to do a traffic count there. If I can ask Mr. Nepsey if that was done. Thank you. That's my two notices.
Okay, Councillor Bonnie?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It kind of got caught up in the moment, but I'm not sure if Ms. Hunter would like a picture with you and her family with perhaps like the town taking it and the media taking it. I don't know, before her family leaves, in case her family does want to go. But it might be nice to have a picture of you, Mr. Mayor, with our new CAO and the family before everybody leaves.
And I would prefer that all the council be in it because we are her boss, not me. We are, okay? So if that's okay with the rest of you, I think we should all be involved. Thanks. Okay. Oh, there weren't any more, were there?
No.
Were there any
Well,
other
we gotta
additions?
pass that
Sorry.
motion.
Councillor Vokes?
Thank you. I just want to talk about on this week's agenda. I had put I actually met with Donna and I was meeting with Rob and I had highlighted to them that I wanted to talk at this council meeting about my 2 months' pay that was taken away from me by council. and the fact that I want to take that pay and donate it. And I was told to put it forward to the next meeting. And the reason I want to talk about it at this meeting, because I deem it to be urgent, and I have a reason why. So I'm asking that I get the opportunity to speak to it. It'll only take a minute.
And just need a second to discuss this with our lawyer and our clerk. I think I have the answer, but I want to make sure I have the right answer. Okay, we're going to hear a comment from the clerk here.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have on the, as a notice of motion, 15.2.2, Councillor Vokes has presented a notice of motion to be brought forward for the October 2nd meeting, and that relates to the 2 months remuneration. However, in discussing this and in reviewing the recommendation from the Integrity Commissioner report that was adopted in whole by Council at the September 5th meeting, the specific recommendation that was passed by Council was that the suspended 2 months' pay form part of the town's general fund. So as such, the potential notice of motion being presented here and to be brought to the October 2nd, at least as how it's on the agenda right now, that relates to a matter that's already been considered and decided by Council. So procedurally, the first step would be a motion to reconsider a decision that's already been made by Council. Once that motion to reconsider is passed, and that would need to be brought by 2 members of Council who voted in favor of the original resolution from the 5th that passed that adopted the recommendations. Once that motion to reconsider has been passed, then the item, whether it's discussed tonight as new business or urgent business, or whether it's brought forward at the October 2nd meeting, that would be a precondition. There would be a motion to reconsider required.
Okay, and I thank you for that. I was aware of pretty well everything that you had said with regards to the voting and how it gets back on here and everything. And my question is to the councillor is this, no, my statement to the councillor, I should say, is that this is a minor issue, hits that, but is it urgent? No, I don't think it's urgent, and I don't recall, I would have to ask the treasurer. In that report, it said the next pay period, so I'm not even aware if we could get that from Mrs. Hunter, when the next pay period is that they referenced the commissioner.
Through you, Your Worship, without having that in front of me, I believe it was the next 2 pay periods, like the next 2 months from the date of that meeting.
Which starts, which one? Any idea? Is it starting
Would
next
start
month
through
or-
you, Your Worship, the date of that meeting, September 5th.
Okay, so it would start, the next pay period's October. So we have 2 months to decide this. But, first of all, to get it on the agenda, I believe that he needs to have someone that voted for the recommendation made by Mr. Swayze move and support it, and that's any one of the 5 of us, because we are all 5 agreed with the recommendation from Mr. Swayze. So to get this to be spoken to on the 2nd, put this on the 2nd's agenda, someone out of us 5 must move it and support it, right?
So through you, Mr. Chair, right now, it's on tonight's agenda simply as a notice of motion, just to be presented. In order for the motion to move forward for consideration or discussion, the motion to reconsider would need to be passed, and that presumably that could either be a motion considered by council either at tonight's meeting or at the October 2nd meeting, because right now it's just a motion, a notice of motion on the agenda. It would move forward possibly for action at October 2nd, but once again, a motion to reconsider would be required.
Okay. So am I to make the decision to put it off till next meeting, or is council, would be my question.
Mr. Mayor, I think that's a decision the council as a whole would make, whether council entertains that motion to reconsider this evening, that is a possibility, or when the notice of motion comes back on the October 2nd agenda, once again, for consideration, discussion, action possibly, once again, that prerequisite would be the motion to reconsider.
So council has heard what our clerk has just recommended either tonight, or what's your preference? Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council, I believe either tonight or in 2 weeks, there will not be two-thirds support of this motion. So I believe right now, frankly, we're wasting time. I do not think this is something that will be supported by council, and that's just being honest.
Any other comments? No. Okay, so what I will do, if you would like to deal with it tonight, we will. That's what I'm trying to find out. If you want to deal with it tonight, Deputy Mayor Malash, like I will ask the question. Okay, Deputy Mayor Malash.
Mr. Mayor, it's on the agenda, and I suggest that we just follow the agenda, and when we get to that point, then we discover whether or not we're going to permit it to be dealt with.
Okay. That's fine. I'll accept that explanation to deal with it when it's there. Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any other additions? Looking for the mover of the motion or council vote?
So I just got to ask a question. It's reflective of what we do. I asked if we could talk about it tonight. Now the decision is, well, when we get to that point, we'll talk about it. And I told you all it's urgent, but none of you wanted to hear the urgency of it. Not one of you. Not one of you said, hey, okay, Councillor Vokes, what's the urgency? So when we get to it, I'll have more information at hand as to what I'm going to decide to do. Anyways, let's move on.
Okay. All in favor of tonight's minutes or meeting? Adoption of the agenda. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5, adoption of minutes, item 5 on the agenda, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held September 5th be adopted as presented.
Moved by Councillor Snively, and who said moved? Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Opposed?
Item 7 on the agenda, Your Worship, is unfinished business, 7.1 being the ward boundary review final report. This is returning from the September 11th, 2017 special council meeting. Council deliberations on the presented final report recommendations commenced at the September 11th, 2017 special meeting. And as added to the agenda this evening, our Chief Administrative Officer, Donna Hunter, is going to speak and provide an introduction and a PowerPoint presentation to assist council in their deliberations this evening.
And I'll turn the microphone over to our CAO, Mrs. Donna Hunter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just want to bring council back to May 15th, when there was 3 resolutions brought forward by council and passed by council. The first one was to elect the deputy mayor at large, starting with the 2018 election. The second one was to retain the current composition of council at 7 for 2018, and then to move forward with the ward boundary review. So in terms of options and next steps, the first option is to maintain the status quo. So in other words, our 4 wards, our 7 council members, mayor at large and deputy mayor voted in by council. Second option is to maintain our current ward structure, elect the deputy mayor at large, and add 1 council member for a total of 8 council members. In order to do that, we need to rescind the May 15th resolution, pass a resolution to add 1 council member, and prepare a bylaw. As you recall, the cost of adding 1 council member is approximately $25,000. which translates into approximately $2.88 per household. Third option is to adopt the consultant's final option one. Here, you'll need to resolution to adopt and then prepare a bylaw. As well, with the consultant's final option number 2, you need to do the same thing. The final option was the one that was introduced by Councillor Bjorkman at the last meeting. This one requires some public consultation because this is not one that the public has seen as yet. And then, of course, if council were willing to go forward with that one, there would be a resolution to adopt and then prepare a bylaw. So when the consultant was talking about ward size as compared to population, there was 3 variances that they talked about. There's the optimal variance, which is the population is within 5% above or below the calculated optimal size. And then there's the above-below optimal, where the population is between 6% and 25% above or below the calculated optimal size. And then we have outside the range, which is population is greater than 25% above or below the calculated optimal size. You'll see this reflected in the next slide. So I've put together all of the options. I'm sorry, this is a little small, but in order to get them all on one page, I had to kind of squish them up a bit. Hopefully you can see this clearly enough. So the first option is a current option. And as you can see from the 2016 numbers, we have one of the wards is outside the range by 26%, and that is Ward 4. And then we have 2 that are optimal, and we have 1 that's above optimal. And then in 2026, with growth numbers brought into the picture, we no longer have 1 outside the range. It's now just below optimal. And we have 2 above optimal, and now we have only 1 optimal. In the final one from the consultants, this was based on a 4-ward system. We have, in 2016, we have 2 that are optimal, 1 below optimal, and 1 above optimal. The 1 above optimal is basically very close to the 25%, which would make it outside the range. In 2026, we now have the same spreads in terms of 1 below, 1 above, and 2 at optimal. The numbers have just slightly changed a little bit, especially for the one that was very close to the outside range. Final 2, in 2016, one of the wards, Ward 1, is outside the range. This is a 5-ward proposal. Then we have 2 that are optimal and 2 that are above optimal. Going into 2026, we have the outside range one has gone to a below optimal, but just barely at 25%. And then we have 2 above optimal and 2 optimal. And then Councillor Bjorkman's suggestion was a 3-ward system. And basically, in 2016 and 2026, we have 1 at optimal, 1 above, and 1 below. So basically, those are your the various options that you have, keeping in mind that if we go to or consider the Councillor Bjorkman's suggestion, we still need to do a public process for that. So just where I think you need to go tonight is you need to confirm that you want to continue to elect the deputy mayor at large. I think that's probably the subject of your first discussion.
Councillor Snively.
Through you, Your Worship, I'm not going to speak for all the council, but I think that's the way we wanted to go. I want to make that motion that we do elect the deputy mayor at large. I'll make that motion. And then
Through the chair, that direction from council, council already resolved in that respect back on May 15th.
If we have done it in the past, as we said last meeting, and said the same thing, why are we discussing this? We've already approved it. that we're doing that, have we
Well,
not?
through your worship, further than that, we did all agree on to elect the deputy mayor at large, but we did not agree on the boundaries.
No, but item 1, I'll go to our CEO, Mrs. Hunter.
At this point, we do have a resolution from council that you do want to elect the deputy mayor at large, but given all that we've gone through, we want to reconfirm all of those. And so we're just asking council not to necessarily make a motion, but they can make a motion to reconfirm if they want.
Councillor Snively, Councillor Vokes, and then Councillor Bonnie. So you have the floor, sir.
Your worship, I already said what I wanted to say. You know, I think we're all in agreement with electing the deputy mayor at large. And we haven't decided on the boundary review yet, so.
So if you are going to make that motion, I'll come back to you, let these other two speak. Okay, Councillor Vokes and then Councillor Bonnie.
I get a little confused because we're talking about whether or not we're going to put a deputy mayor in at large. And now we're saying, well, we did, we didn't. We might have, we could have, we should have. My question is very clear. Is it documented in minutes somewhere by notice of motion that we all as councillors approve running the deputy mayor at large? Because we seem a little confused right now as to what we have or haven't done. So my question is there minutes right now that show a notice of motion to elect the deputy mayor at large, yes or no?
Okay, Mrs. Hunter, you want to say it again? Please.
Through you, Your Worship, there is no notice of motion. This is
Okay, thank you.
basically dealing with the ward boundary review and the next election. What we're trying to determine is, and confirm, is all the resolutions that were made on May the 15th. Because at the time that you made those, you said you were going to elect a deputy mayor at large, you said you were going to keep the same number of council members, and then you wanted to go forward with the ward boundary review. However, at that time, you didn't realize that that was going to have such an impact with one less council member, in the sense that you now have only the 5 in doing all the wards. So we just want to go back to reconfirm that this is what you want. We're going to get to the final thing, which is what do you want to do with the boundaries for your wards? But I think we just need to reconfirm all the things that we decided that night to make sure, because one of the things you did decide was to not change the number of councillors, but now you're seeing that that's going to be very difficult and still be able to represent all the wards properly.
Thank you, Donna.
Okay, Councillor Bonnie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 questions. One is, I don't know if there's any members of the public that would like to speak, but before council gets further into it, I don't know if this is an appropriate time, but we did say that we would accept delegations tonight. So that's my one.
And I would just say, I was going to open that up as soon as we get finished with our CAO's report.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I think we forgot, maybe. I don't know. And the other thing was, on September 11th, did we rescind the motion to keep council at 7 seats? Because I believe that we did, because we voted on one motion that night.
Yes, so speaking through the chair, that was my next point to council. Back on May 15th, yes, the second motion was to retain the current composition of council at 7 members. In the course of deliberations back on September 11th, council in their discussion recognized that there was a potential for an 8th council seat, and so yes, council did pass a motion to rescind this second resolution retaining the current council composition at 7 members.
Okay, thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the clerk. I don't know how we can address confirmed deputy mayor at large without addressing some of the other pieces first. Like, for example, my order of operations, how I see it is, we have to say, are we going with one of these consultants' proposals? And then are we going to entertain Councillor Bjorkman's proposals? Once we work down the list, then I see, you know, we may say that we want to go with Councillor Bjorkman's, and then, I don't know, like, because you almost can't do one without doing the other first. Like, confirm number of counselors. Well, we don't know yet, right? We don't know yet. If we go with one of these, we can stay at 7. So I don't know what the order of operations is, but confirming deputy mayor at large might lock us into something that we may not want to be locked into at the end of this conversation. Because if we say we want to confirm the deputy mayor at large, and then we say, oh, we're not taking any of these options or Councillor Bjorkman's options, then we're left with what? So I don't know, that's something to.
Mrs. Hunter.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in coming up with the order of how to do things, I had consulted with our consultant, and that was his suggestion. But we certainly can deal with decisions on which ward structure you want to go with, and then come back to these. It doesn't matter if you change the order. It's just important that we reconfirm certain things and make decisions on the boundary.
Councillor Vokes.
When the time's right, I'll put a motion for it.
Is Mrs. Hunter finished? Yes, would you like to say something? Or no? Okay. Well, as Councillor Bundy mentioned, once Mrs. Hunter was finished, I was going to ask the clerk, did we get a list of people to come as delegations this evening, which...
Through the chair, in looking at the sign-in sheet, I did not, just before the meeting, notice any particular sign-ups as delegations for this evening. But having said that, I don't know if there's still members of the public.
Okay, if anyone in the crowd, I would ask, would you like to have words? If you haven't in the past, we haven't heard from you. I'm sure council would approve you coming up and giving us your opinion, if there's anyone that wants to say something. Yes, sir. When you get there, or are you leaving? Good night, gentlemen. Me too. Yes, sir, we'll get your name and the mic there, if you just push the purple button, I think.
Okay, thank you. Garnet Talbot, I'm from Harrow. I'd just like to say that I was at the meetings that you held in Harrow, and you got people's recommendations. You didn't get very many, but the people that were concerned you did get. I'm just wondering, like couldn't make the last meeting, all of a sudden you're coming up with an 8-person council now, that are we going to have public consultation on that before you implement it? If you did implement that?
That came out of last week's meeting, and that's why we're having an open session again this evening, and I do believe we advertised that fact. Didn't we?
So you're not going to hold meetings to have it discussed?
That's what tonight's meeting, there's an opportunity to come and talk as you are right now, sir.
Okay.
Just hang on, Councillor Bondi has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Garnet. When we're talking about ward boundary reviews, if we align the ward boundary, there is an appeal period for residents. So it's really important that we go out there and get residents' feedback. If council were to say we want an 8-seat, we're not realigning the ward boundaries, we don't have the same exposure to the appeal period. So is it rushed? I will agree, absolutely. Should we have more public feedback? Absolutely, because there's only been a week that we threw this ball up in the air saying maybe 8 seats will fix it. Council only had the report for 2 weeks before the September 11th, and at the September 11th, that's when the dialogue came up about the 8 seats. We're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because in May, or whenever, we promised the electorate we were going to appoint the deputy mayor at large. Then, the end of August, we saw the report and we're like, ooh, this is what it looks like, ooh, are we going there? So then we said, okay, well, we got the information. The consultants provided us with all the information. Let's go back to square one and see, maybe the consultants aren't providing us what we'd like to see. Let's go back to square one. So that's what we're doing now. I don't know if there's opportunity to have more public consultation on the 8 seats, if council wants that. Or I don't know if that would change, if more public consultation on each seats would change council's mind, because we made the promise to go to deputy mayor at large.
Yes, sir. Could you push your button, sir? They just can't hear you up here.
Oh, sorry, but you hired this consultant firm and paid them, from what I can gather, around $50,000 to present this, get this presented to you, and now you're going to ignore it? Like, did you not tell them what you were looking for? So that they could,
The job they had at hand was to give us the best advice they could to deal with what we presented them with. And that's what they did. Now, my
I
question,
agree.
my question to you would be, because we've had some emails in the past week or week and a half with regards to just what you spoke about. Why did you hire these people if you're not going to accept one of their recommendations? Are we going to do this every time now? Quit hiring those people that do the job that we're not capable of doing, or do we have the time of doing it, and then forget about that and just go to the public and just the most people? I don't know. I kind of like what you just said, but I'm just one person. So anyways, that's where we're at today. If you have anything else, well, we'll listen to you, sir. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very Deputy Mayor Rich Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. The other factor that comes into play in this scenario too is that during the time that we made the motion that we would want to go deputy mayor at large and receive this report, is that we had a councillor vacate a seat. And there's been a lot of support from one of the areas, Ward 3, where that would probably be affected the most, Ward 4 and Ward 3, that would be affected in the suggestions from the consultant. And at a point in time, we're trying to make a decision on this. We have one less councillor from that area to help make that decision. If we wait until that person comes on board and gets elected, it'll be too late to act to get it in place for the 2018 election, because there's not a long enough period of time for an appeal process to make its way through the system. So we can make a decision and then, or postpone it until that person comes along. But the one thing that we do know that we want to vote deputy mayor at large. And that's pretty well, it wasn't unanimous on council, but it was pretty well stated across council that the majority wanted it. And we had heard that from our constituents as well, that that's what they want. So with that said, for me personally, and from what I've heard from residents, both the ones that are from Ward 3 and Ward 4, from my own ward, there are some that say, no, just move ahead the due course, but most of those are persons that are not in that Ward 3 area that are going to be mostly affected. So my situation, I'm looking at, and a lot of people are suggesting this as well, go with the 8th councillor, or go with the 8th position, vote your deputy mayor at large, not throw away the report, the consultant's report, but once we have that new councillor back on board, maybe even wait until next year after the election to revisit with the consultant's report, maybe tweak what we wanted to tweak, and have that in place for 2022. If we have an 8th person on council over the next 4 years, from 2018 to 2022, I think that's the way it works out, 2018 to 2022, or 2021, see how well or how poorly it works. There's concerns on how the voting would go, whether we'd have continuous ties because we've got 8 people. So check it out for the next 4 years, see if it's a concern. There are lots of councils across Ontario that have an even number of councillors, including Lakeshore, right here in the county. They don't seem to think that it's an issue. But check it out, and believe me, there's a lot of workload that goes on between council members here in committee work. And a lot of us find it very time-consuming, and it would be a relief in some instance to have an additional person. I think we'd be more effective with the committees that we have if we had an additional person to cover those committees. So I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think it's something that still needs to have some tweaking, perhaps, the boundaries, because representation by population is not perfect in the scenario that we have right now with 4 wards. So we may have to tweak the boundaries just slightly. But I think it's something that is a little bit different than I've seen in any of the reports that came back from the consultant. I was expecting something different, not something that was earth-moving or changing the whole pattern of voting quite a bit, until I actually seen the report, and then I'm going, holy smokes, this is, I can understand why some people would be upset about what's being recommended for us to adopt as far as fair representation. And even in just perception of how it looks, maybe not necessarily the way it actually is. And there are a lot of people that, and even our administration, that have some concerns about mixing rural and urban for general rates and rate application for, there's urban rates and rural rates and so on. I think there's a way of getting around it, but causes a lot of other questions. So I think in order to get something to happen, we know that we want deputy mayor at large. From my perspective, what I've heard from individuals is I would like to see deputy mayor at large, keeps the representation very, very similar to what we have now, keeps a fair number of councillors spread out through the whole community, same number in the south, same number in the north, east, west, urban, rural, whatever you want to say. But I think what we have right now is not all that bad, just needs a little tweaking, and that was my perspective even going into it. So that's what I'm going to be in favor of at this point in time, is deputy mayor at large, with leaving our wards the way they are and adding deputy mayor at large and leaving the 6 councillors voted in the way they are now. Thank you.
Thank you for that, sir. I have Councillor Bjorkman and Councillor Vokes with the motion, if no one else has any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I explained my position on Monday, but I want to do it briefly again in this open meeting, so there's a record of it. I believe, again, we need the deputy mayor at large. I believe that role needs defining. We've all talked about that the principal responsibility for the deputy mayor should be a regional representative for us at county council. There are a lot of things coming down, being downloaded by the province to the county, then from the county to the municipalities. We need a strong voice whose principal job is to represent us at the county level. There's going to be many, many things coming that we need to make sure we're on top of, and that should be the principal job of that office, and then helping the mayor, and then be an assistant to ward councillors. The guiding criteria that they gave us for when we did the ward review was so that we would have a good basis if we ever had to go to the municipal board to defend our position. So we have to build what we're doing off of what the consultants have given us. We're not going to find vertical wards. We're not going to have wards running from the north of the town to the south of the town. There's always going to be lines that are running east-west. Part of the problem is I think people get stuck on looking at the lines. You need to have balance and representation. You need to have people that feel that they're being heard as much as any other person is being heard. That's why I like the idea of the 3 wards. You have 2 at large in Essex Centre, 2 at large in Colchester South, and 1 from Colchester North. allows the deputy mayor at large, the mayor at large, and you still have 7 people on council. As the deputy mayor alluded to, I have a concern with an even number of people on council, creating stagnation when we go to after issues that are very black and white, and you just can't move people from the other side. How do you create that middle ground? The public consultations, we had 4 public consultations, 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock at night. Our open houses were in the summer, our open houses were in the early spring. We did our best, and we went along with our consultants to ensure that people had the information if they wanted to be there. It was out on Facebook, it was in the papers. We did everything that we could do to put that out to everyone. So I just think that this is an issue that this council decided they were going to take care of, that this council hired consultants to do, that this council should take care of. So as far as the extra consultation with the one that I brought forward, the option I brought forward was brought forward the same night as the final 2 from the consultants. So I guess I have a question as to why there would need to be extra time to look at the position that I put forward compared to those other 2.
Okay, Mrs. Hunter?
Through you, Your Worship, in talking to the consultant, the difficulty is that these were not part of any of the open houses that were held at the time that the open houses and the other options were all put out there. And so there really hasn't been the same public consultation as there has been with the other alternatives that we've had. And that was the reason that he felt that this still needed to go through some sort of a public consultation.
Okay, thank you. Further to that, so I think we still need to take care of this. We need to use this information that we've got. It's very valuable. It was a good exercise for us to go through, and we need to keep this in front of us. Again, I believe in having a deputy mayor at large. That position is too important in today's political landscape. So if we need to do that, and there has to be more consultation, then this will not be available at the next election, because this will push us out of the time zone. If we try to now have consultation for 2 weeks from now, and then 2 weeks from now redo this decision, it will push us past, should there be one person who challenges what's there. So I will be in favor tonight of moving that we have a deputy mayor at large. And if it has to be that it's 8 people because we can't get enough people to support what's here, then that's what we'll have to do, because that is still the most important thing in this discussion. And we'll have to press forward as we can. Thank you.
For that, sir. Councillor Vokes.
Ready for the motion? Yep.
Councillor Vokes, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me, sir, I didn't catch your first name. I'm sorry? Garnet? Garnet, I gotta tell you somebody, you're 100% right. There's no sense in spending the money on a report if you're not gonna acknowledge the report. And we spend a lot of money on reports. So with that being said, I'm going to put a motion forward that we elect the deputy mayor at large, and we support option 1 as submitted in the report. And I'm looking for a seconder so we can move on, because it doesn't matter what you do and how many times you cut it, slice it, dice it, somebody's not going to be happy.
Okay. Do we have a seconder? We have a seconder for the motion. One more time, I'm going to ask seconder for that motion, option 1. Okay, hooray. Okay, no seconder, so sorry for that. Do we have any other motions to make? Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, we'll throw it out there, we'll see if it's, I too want to move forward with the deputy mayor elected at large. I don't see how we can possibly do it without looking at an 8-seat this term, and I don't know if we look at the 8-seat for one term and we review it, but I'll make a motion that we confirm the deputy mayor elected at large and we add an 8th-seat to do so. So we keep the ward boundary review, or the ward boundary alignment the same, but we add an 8-seat, so we'd have a standalone mayor and a standalone deputy mayor. And I'd like a recorded vote too, please.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Do we have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Snively, open for discussion. Councillor Bondi, any comments first? Because you'll be the last one to speak towards it if you'd like. Anyone else, any comments? I haven't made any yet this evening, but I will comment on that motion. To get this thing not only in gear, but to put it to bed. Like when the deputy mayor was speaking, like I know I'm going to support this motion because people want to see us move ahead. Like I've stated in the past, we're elected to do the job. It might be a dirty one, but that's what we're here for, and they're looking at us like we've all got the emails as to who wants it, who doesn't. We were elected to make the tough decisions, and just like the gentleman said here tonight, let's get it done. Come on. So I will be supporting this. So if anyone else has any comments, Councillor Snively.
Through you, your worship, and to the public, the reason I'm supporting this, and I made, maybe some of the residents weren't there last time, we worked very hard to draw our whole municipality together. And to eliminate one of the councilors, I think what we're doing, we're pushing ourselves again. So this is why I'm supporting it. I think what we have right now works, okay? I don't want to see us go backwards because, like I said before, we worked hard to mold together as a municipality, and we finally have. So let's not go backwards. So that's why I'm supporting the motion.
Any other comments to the motion? Seeing none, and Councillor Bondi asks for recorded vote.
So through the chair, if I can just confirm through Councillor Bondi, who moved on the motion, and seconded by Councillor Snively, if I could propose the motion to read as follows. Pursuant to Section 217 of the Municipal Act and commencing with the 2018 election, Essex Town Council shall be composed of 8 members, consisting of head of council, to be known as the mayor, to be elected by general vote, a deputy mayor to be elected by general vote, and 6 members elected in the existing wards.
And that's for 2018. Okay.
So on the motion as read, Councillor Bondi, how do you vote?
Support.
Mayor McDermott, how do you vote?
Support?
Deputy Mayor Milosh?
Support?
Councillor Vokes?
Opposed?
Councillor Bjorkman?
Opposed.
And Councillor Snively. On the motion as stated, Councillor Bondi was in support, Mayor McDermott was in support, Deputy Mayor Milosh supported, Councillor Vokes opposed, Councillor Bjorkman opposed. With a recorded vote of 4 in favor, 2 opposed, the motion carries.
Okay.
Item 8 on the agenda, Your Worship, is reports from administration. 8.1 is from the Office of the Chief Administrative Officer, Report 2017-002, re-agreement with animal control officers. That said report be received, and that the agreement with Essex County Canine Services be extended for a 1-year period from September 15th, 17 to September 14th, 2018, and that the annual retainer be based on the current retainer, plus an adjustment for the change in consumer price index for September.
Support the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.2 is Planning Report 2017-036, redevelopment agreement for Jose Liberato and Lucia Liberato, together with bylaw 1637, providing for the development agreement. That said report be received, bylaw 901 be repealed, and that bylaw 1637 receive all three readings and finally pass this evening.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Deputy Mayor Meloche. Comment? Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, okay, it's to Chris, please. Is this 5 homes, Chris? Is it 5, or to Rita, sorry. Is it 5 homes?
Through your worship, there's the potential to create 5 more building lots. What's currently there is those 4 lots that you see on the map,
Okay,
but there's
yeah.
the potential to create more.
Okay, I didn't think you had that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All in favor? Motion carries.
8.3, Community Services Report 2017-023, Get Your Red and White On event update. That said report be received for council information purposes.
Moved by the mayor and supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? The report. All in favor? Motion carries. Opposed?
8.4, Community Services Report 2017-024, Town of Essex Memorial Tree and Bench Program. That said report be received for council information this evening.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
8.5, Drainage Report 2017-03, reappointment of a drainage engineer to prepare a report for a new access culvert. That said report be received, and that council appoint the engineering firm of Root Engineering to prepare said drainage report for the new access culvert over the 8th concession west drain.
Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Deputy Mayor Meloche. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Opposed?
8.6, Communications Report 2017-001, read 2017-18 Tourism Marketing Update. That said report be received and that council support an application to the Rural Economic Development, otherwise known as RED Fund, for matching tourism marketing funds in 2018.
Moved by Councillor Volk, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Lori, for the report, and it was good to see all the things that we're doing to marketing our tourism Essex and everything else that's going on. Every time I talk to business owners in town, when I pitch the billboard idea, or I say, you know, we could have a possible billboard, I get a lot of buy-in for that. So I don't know if we can have that conversation with council, or if we use the chamber to have that conversation with council, but there are some billboards in the county that are vacant right now. Mike Tomek has one on Walker Road. Like everybody, you know, when I say the Mike Tomek billboard, everybody's like, oh yeah. And I'm not saying billboards are fantastic, but I feel like we are the best ambassadors of our municipality. And this Tourism Essex website is amazing, and I love it. And I want everybody, I want the 21,000 people in Essex to all know about it, so that when we have family coming from Brampton or Toronto, we can say, look at this, or even, you know, people in Amherstburg can easily see this. So the cost for a billboard is around $1,000 for the sign and about $200 a month to rent it. So I would really like council to investigate that sooner rather than later, because the website is hot. I know the tourism season is kind of over, but I really want to continue marketing our website. And when I go to the post office, I see tons of flyers thrown out, right? Nobody throws away a billboard. And it's generally very environmentally friendly. And I don't know what the costs are compared to some things quoted in this report, but I'd really like to see council have that conversation about putting a billboard with Tourism Essex on number 3 and maybe one on Walker. And they're all interchangeable too, so that's what's kind of fun about the billboards. So I don't know, I look to maybe the CEO or to council for advice. There's a chamber meeting this Wednesday. It's on the agenda at the Harrow Chamber as well.
Okay. Mrs. Hunter, comment?
Through your worship, that the whole concept of billboards was addressed in the report. I mean, we can certainly look at that those two particular locations, but again, the value of a billboard is being somewhere where the people are, not where the people are going, because the people, where they're going, they've done all their research, they've done everything. And I get the ambassador thing, but to stretch our dollars as far as we can stretch our dollars, we need to find those things that hit the people that we want to visit. And, I mean, we can certainly look at the billboards. I can talk with Nelson and Lori tomorrow, and we can come up with some thoughts on it, but I think we're trying to come into the digital age, and this is what the digital age is telling us in terms of advertising, that it's no longer print material, it's no longer billboards, it's getting into Facebook, getting into all those social media, because people do their research about going on a trip before they go on the trip, not when they get there. And that's, I guess, the concern we had about the one just outside of Harrow. But council can certainly, we can certainly bring it back as a particular subject when we have all the numbers. I don't believe we have those numbers right now. Nelson, Lori, I don't think we do, but we can bring that back and have a more detailed conversation about that.
Yes.
I'm wondering if we can do some out-of-the-box thinking, like perhaps even some of the businesses inside there sponsor a month, right? Like if we could get buy-in, we may just be the ambassadors of it. We may just be the ones that create the sign and put it up there, and maybe the businesses themselves, like I can pitch that idea to them. You know, if we want this up there, then it's a cost sharing with the businesses.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Malash, and then council votes.
Thank you, through your worship. I like the idea of the billboard advertisement. Now, I'm not quite sure whether I believe that we should be advertising within our own community, but I think too, along Riverside Drive, where you've got Americans driving up and down, you know, day trips, and even the residents of Windsor, or residents of the county that are driving into the city of Windsor for jobs, or coming outside of the, you know, and I'm not saying use that as the billboard, as the be-all and end-all, but put up there your one-day, look at us for your one-day trip. And I was going to suggest, too, that we partner with different businesses, maybe pick a winery per month, or whatever length of time the sign is going to be up there, what it's good for, that particular sign. Maybe it's 2 or 3 months. You pick a winery that wants to, if you have 9 wineries that want to be in there, you say, okay, we're going to pick one out of a hat to be first and second and so on. But advertise with them. You put a splash of their winery up on there and say, visit Essex.ca. So you're not advertising what you want them to do when you come here, but what you're advertising is the fact that go to our website, because they may not know to go to our website to look at our tourism page. So what I would like to advertise is EssexTourism.ca. Visit this site. We can give you fantastic ideas and come up with an interesting way of making people want to go to that site. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council votes.
I think we should rent the illuminated sign on number 3 Highway. That one gets a lot of attention. But with that being said, it doesn't do no good to advertise in your own community. If we do that, we got to advertise outside of our community. I would suggest something off here in Church Line somewhere, coming into the Old Castle area, on availability of billboard. At least that way people got a few moments to decide what they want to do if they recognize the billboard in entering.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from Nelson Severa, our Economic Development Officer, or Lori Brett, our Manager of Communications? Please.
Through
And
your
Deputy
worship.
Clerk. Oh, that's right. And Deputy Clerk.
Through your worship, as you, as council read in the report, we're leaning towards being more strategic in our marketing. Not saying that print is dead, but we're trying to be strategic in the ads that we take in print publications. So, looking at different publications that relate to activities in the town of Essex, so wine-related magazines, or magazines that target specific audiences, We've taken out online advertisements through social media, and the analytics that have come back have shown that we've been able to identify certain target areas. So Michigan, Ohio, Chatham-Kent to London, and we're able to target those specific areas and see the analytics behind who's actually seeing the ads, age-specific analytics, as well as seeing how many people are actually viewing it. So you can put up a billboard, but you don't actually know the return on your investment. Not saying that billboards are bad, but a billboard advertisement within your own community promoting tourismessex.ca, I don't know if that's the best way to spend our marketing dollars. So in putting forward an application to the Rural Economic Development Program for marketing dollars, there may be an opportunity to ask for funding for a billboard, but we have to investigate the specific location of that billboard. The best return on investment would be outside the municipality, probably in Windsor, around Riverside, or Huron Line, something like along those lines. Have to see the cost of that as well. It wouldn't be a billboard for a year, maybe 6 months in that tourism season to attract more visitors to the website and to the town of Essex for day trip tourism.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Brett, any comments from you?
Through you, Your Worship. I don't really think that I have anything to add that Nelson hasn't already said. Certainly, return on investment is something that we talk about a lot, because there are lots of places we can put our advertising dollars, but there aren't a lot of places where we can actually evaluate whether that advertising has been effective. So billboards raise that issue, much like other print advertising does. How do we gauge whether it's been successful? Word of mouth is certainly maybe helpful, but it is only anecdotal. It's not something, it doesn't compare to something like social media where you know exactly how many people may have seen your ad. And we were extremely successful with some carousel ads that we ran on Facebook right after the launch of the tourism website. So much so that we think we should expand the reach of those. And we were very surprised at the reach that we got, especially in Michigan and Ohio. So because the world of advertising is very large and marketing is a little more complex than just putting an ad up, you also have to deal with the content of the ad. Nelson and I really need the fall to work out our plans for next year so that we're ready when tourism season begins, which is we need to be ready for probably about March. So we really need some time to do like a thorough review of what is available to us, how much money do we have to spend. If we can double our money by getting a RED grant, that will make it a lot easier for us to entertain things like billboards, and then we'll come up with a plan once we, we'll be coming up with a plan for the next few months, but it will evolve as we know how much money we have to spend.
Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I just have one. Some of us remember there was a sign out at our property on Post Office Road in the Highway 3 bypass. Very few people in Essex knew about it. There are a few in the Legion that discussed it because of what was on it. When it comes to billboards, do people really read them? I know I can't read them because I'm driving most of the time, so I don't know what the passengers do, but we all know that sign ended up coming down because what was on it. And there weren't a handful of people in Essex Center that knew it was even up there. And it was terrible what was on there. That's why it came down. But I don't know. I don't know if signs are good or if they're bad. So I don't know. Okay, we need to vote on and receive the report. Councillor Vokes and Deputy Mayor Meloche. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is our report from our youth member, Ava Hoffman. Welcome, young lady, and I've heard all you want to do is say hello, but you have your mic.
Yeah, I don't have a report for tonight, so.
Okay. So you say hello to us.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for coming, Eva.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that correct? Item 10, any updates from County Council this evening?
Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the reps that tour the landfill bring back a mini report to council on how the flood is impacting the lifespan of the landfill? And also auto shredder fluff, the landfill liaison committee members, can you bring a report back to council on auto shredder fluff, please, if you have a meeting soon?
I'll mark that down for our next solid waste meeting to ask about the fluff. I know it's sure, when they had the flood approximately a year ago that hit Windsor and everything, like, wow, the revenue that solid waste got from that, and the town of Essex, because we get our percentage, like, just skyrocketed, and I'm sure it'll be every bit as much this time. So the revenue is coming to us, but so is filling the landfill. But I'll try to see how many years or a year or months that would take off the longevity of our. Okay, thanks.
11.1 on the agenda, correspondence to be received. Recognition for the certification course recently completed by Mr. Morrison, our Director of Finance and Business Services.
Move receipt from Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? Before I go to ask the questions, he doesn't want anything said about him, but once again, Mr. Morrison, on behalf of all of us, in the office and out of the office and staff, citizens, congratulations on being ahead of the queue, you know, like you're right up there. Excellent job. Thanks. Councillor Vokes?
I just want to make a point of interest. I know we recognized Donna's grandchild, and I had the opportunity to be outside the other night when Jeff went by my house and he stopped with his son. And we had some good conversation, myself, Jeff, and his son. But I want to make record that throughout that conversation, his son corrected Jeff 2 or 3 times and reminded him he was inaccurate on the reading of a book that he had read. So,
Good.
So I think we're saying sharpen up.
I'm saying we can always refer to his son if we second guess what he's doing.
We didn't accept that, did we? Receive it, yeah. Vote on that? Lynn, did we?
Okay. 11.2.1, that the correspondence inviting Essex Council to participate in the celebration of Franco-Ontario Day on September 25th by holding a flag raising ceremony be received and supported.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? Councillor Vokes?
I don't know who's doing that for us, but as I reiterated with Councillor Sherry Bondi prior to the hearing, that I had the opportunity to raise the flag last time, and the expectations is you have to deliver the speech in French, which I did. I learned the French language, and I managed it in order for the children to truly understand it. So whoever's doing that on behalf of the town, you better get to work and polish up your French language.
I think I did it the last time I did it. I learned French too. I said, bonjour. Councillor Snively.
Through your worship, I'll be doing it, but I won't be speaking French.
Thank you for taking my place, sir. Motion carries.
11.2.2 is correspondence from the town of Halton Hills. That said correspondence, that concerning a request for support of zero tolerance against racism and to condemn all racist acts of violence. That said correspondence be received and supported, and if council so chooses, that a letter of support advising of same be sent to the Member of Parliament, our Member of Parliament, our Member of Provincial Parliament, AMO, and all Ontario municipalities.
When I read this, I couldn't believe it, so I said, just make a motion that we receive this, because I can't believe that we're discussing things like this today. So I'm going to make a motion that we only receive this. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Snively, any questions? Questions?
Through your
Yes, sir.
worship, through your worship, this is something that should never, ever be tolerated anywhere in the country of Canada. Matter of fact, anywhere in the United States. This This should never be permitted, and people that do this should be prosecuted.
I agree, and we shouldn't even be talking about it. Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we just receive it, we're just saying we don't actually support what this municipality is doing. So I won't be supporting the motion because I believe that we should join together in fellow municipalities and try to condemn hatred and racism. So just receiving it and pretending that we're not talking about it isn't helping the cause. So I won't be supporting your motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any other comments? Councilor Vokes.
I agree 100%. If you just receive it, it's really just take it to the back room, shove it in the file cabinet, and it's like it never happened. We need to identify to the NDP that we're behind it 100%, and it shouldn't happen. And it's happening all over the place. And you know, I got accusations of me of being a bully. But when I see this, now we just want to file it. We just want to receive it. We can't receive it. We need to act on it, and we need to act on it with a clear letter from our CAO and from our administration that says we don't support it, and we're there for you for whatever you need. Simple as that.
Anyone else have any comments? You want to shut the mic off, Steve, there?
So I'll make that a motion to do that. And I'm
No,
looking for a
we
support.
have a motion on the floor, sir. Anyone else hasn't spoken to
You
the
made that
motion?
motion?
No, I made it. Okay, no one else? Because I have the final say then, having made the motion. Sure, this goes on in the world. Do you think I tolerate that? Absolutely not. It doesn't go on in our municipality, and most of the world it doesn't go on in. If this little town, wherever it's at, has a problem with that, they should deal with it. Don't ask me to write something that, oh, you know why these people are up in arms and they do all of these things? Because we keep publicizing, oh, look at me, I'm on television. This is what I think about that whole affair. I've talked to a few people about this thing, and that's why my motion was to just receive it, because they agree with the same thing. The more publicity you give to these evil people, I'll call them evil, the more they're in the news and everything else. So, you ready for the vote? All in favor of the motion? To receive only. 2. Opposed? 4. Motion is defeated.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Bondi, yes.
that we receive and support the correspondence from Halton Hills that the Council of the Town of Essex encourages all Ontario municipalities to pass a resolution to support zero tolerance against racism and condemn all acts of racism. I believe that there are probably acts of racism that happen in our municipality.
I support that. Second.
Supported by Councilor Vokes. Any questions?
Recorded vote, please.
Councilor Snidely.
Through your worship, I strongly believe that every municipality endorses this anyways. I can't see how any municipality in our country or our province wouldn't endorse this. You know, that's why I supported you, your worship, on that, because I'm sure that every municipality goes the extra mile to support it.
Okay, thanks. Councilor Vokes and then Councilor Bondi.
Yeah, you can share the last word. Is there a difference between endorsing and filing and receiving? Because you just said that you just receive it. Now you. I'm not talking to you, I'm going to the chair.
Hey,
I'm going to the chair.
both of yous right now.
I'm going to the chair, I'm not talking to you.
Okay.
So I'm
He
just-
made he's speaking on behalf of the motion.
Right.
Yeah,
So I
which
just
is
wanna get
do it
clarity.
and yes.
I want to go through the chair to get clarity. So is he endorsing it, or does he want to
Yes.
file it?
No,
Or
that was
receive it?
defeated.
Oh, okay.
My motion
All right,
was
okay,
defeated
I just
to
want to clear
receive.
that up. That's
Yep. And now the motion is to, Councilor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Similar to an opiate crisis, if we have an opiate crisis, writing a letter and doing something about it is better than just not acknowledging it. So that's why I will be supporting this motion, because there is racism everywhere.
Okay. All in favor? Oh, wait, recorded, okay, yep.
So through the chair, on the motion that the correspondence from the town of Halton Hills advising of the passing of a resolution supporting zero tolerance for racism of any kind, including not Nazism and white supremacy, and encouraging all Ontario municipalities to pass a resolution of support be received and supported. As the requester of the recorded vote, Councillor Vokes, how do you vote?
Support.
Support. Councillor Bjorkman?
Support.
Councillor Snively? Councillor Bondi? Mayor McDermott?
Support.
With a recorded vote of 5 in favor. Oh, sorry. Oh. Deputy Mayor Milosh?
I support.
So with a recorded vote of 6 in support and 0 opposed, the motion carries. Ah. 11.2.3 is correspondence from Chris Magor from Stationery and Stuff notifying council of the resignation of Suzanne Allison from her representation on the Essex BIA. That said, correspondence be received with regret and that bylaw 1376 be amended accordingly.
Moved by Councillor Bonnie, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
11.2.4 is correspondence from Shelley Holder offering to sit on the Essex BIA Board of Management. That said correspondence be received and that Ms. Holder be appointed to the Essex BIA with Schedule A to bylaw 1376 to be amended accordingly.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
11.2.5 is correspondence from Cynthia Cakebread, Manager of Recreation and Culture, advising of notifying council that the Arts, Culture, and Tourism Committee will be hosting a sip and paint program on Thursday, September 21st. That said correspondence be received or received and supported.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman and support. Was that to receive?
Receive and support.
Okay, motion was to receive. And supported, okay. Supported by Councillor Snively. Councillor Bjorkman.
Yeah, just a little plug. There are still openings, availability to join in the evening. It's at the train station. I think it says here on September 11th. No. 21st. 21st. I don't have my glasses on. Anyways, it'll be a nice evening. They've got the paints, everything's supplied for you, along with one glass of imbibing, and they'll be from one of our local wineries. So please come out and support the ACT group through this. Thank you.
Anything else? Councillor Snively.
Just to add to that, Your Worship, and it'll give a little plug for our wineries too. And Steve said that, but I mean, I think Councillor Bjorkman, what did we decide there was, how many wineries were going to be there? Was there 2 or 3 wineries, different wineries? So it'll be a good night out. Everybody come out.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 12 on the agenda, that the committee meeting minutes listed in agenda item 12, together with any recommendations noted therein, be received and adopted as circulated.
Moved by Councillor Bonnie, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 13, 13.1, that the June 2017 bank payments report be ratified as submitted.
Support.
Support by Councillor Bonnie and supported by Deputy Mayor Milosh. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
13.2, that the July 2017 bank payments report be ratified as submitted.
Councillor Vokes and supported by Deputy Mayor Milosh. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
And 13.3 on the agenda, that the August 2017 bank payments report be ratified as submitted.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Milosh, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
Item 15.1 on the agenda, under notices of motion. The following notice of motion was postponed at the September 5th, 2017 regular council meeting and is being brought to the table for consideration and discussion this evening. The stated notice of motion brought forward by Councillor Vokes is that administration be requested to prepare a report on the vacant property at Highway 3 and County Road 8 and its development plan or status.
Just need a seconder for that. Councilor Bondi. And that's it.
Discussion.
So, yes, there is discussion on this one, because this is, okay, it's okay. Anyone? Any discussion with regards to this, Councillor Snively?
Through your worship, how much property is left there? Does anybody know in administration? I know 17 acres was just bought. How much property is left? No, nobody knows, eh?
No? Okay, thanks. Councillor Bondi?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd really like us to get an inventory of all of our vacant land that is zoned and shovel-ready, industrial and commercial. Like, besides this, like, it would be nice for us to know what parcels are out there and where they are. Like, in Harrow, for example, the Colavino development, there's probably a couple more parcels out there. So that if we're hearing out there that developers are looking for 5 acres, 10 acres, we have a list. And I don't even need the list. I mean, Larry, Councillor Snively might need it, but it would be nice for administration to go if we have a question from council, oh, we have, 8 properties that are zoned light industrial, and here you go. And then when developers come to us, we can sit with them and say, here's what we have, here's what we can do for you. So I don't think this should include just the Highway 3 property. I think it should include all the property in the municipality.
Deputy Mayor Malash?
Thank you, through your worship. And as well, an addendum to that report, what I'd like to see too is what amenities do we have at those locations that make it a more valuable piece of property? So for instance, are there gas lines there that would support light industry? Is the hydro to that location, or is the water to that location? Sanitary sewer, is it just a hookup at the end of their property, or do we have some of these sources of power and sewage and so on, water, that have to be brought to those property lines with the properties? And perhaps even some comment on what can we do as a municipality, as a town, to make these lots more saleable so that we can more readily attract some of these businesses to buy in.
We need that as direction from council now. Motion, okay. Need a motion to that effect, Councillor Vokes? Okay, you can. Just use your mic. Yep. Okay, well, go ahead. Yep.
Before we move forward with the motion, I was under the impression that I had it on the agenda tonight to speak to the integrity of taxpayers attending council meetings. And I was told I could talk to it. When we had a conversation, Don,
Just a point of order. This motion's already been made. Councillor Bondi seconded it. There's been a motion on the table right now regarding the property development of Highway 3 and County Road 8.
I know there is.
Yeah, so
Thanks.
we need to stay on that
But
issue.
if I could.
Hang on. Now, your point of order was...
Okay, I'll talk about it at the end then.
Yeah.
No.
I will.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, we'll talk about it at the end. Can I turn to, I need to turn to our treasurer, our acting treasurer, Jeff. Jeff, I need you to do me a favor, because we're talking about everything County Road 8, what we're doing and what we're not doing and what we should be doing. So if you could you got a calculator handy? I need you to do something for me, please.
May I just stop you for a second, Councillor? I'm just going by the agenda.
Yeah.
Tonight, do they have this information that he's asking for, or is he
There's a
asking?
point of order called on that.
Okay, and we dealt with that. We dealt with it.
No, we haven't. We'll talk about that.
Why did you speak then? We dealt with it.
I was going to speak.
You
but
were
a point-
talking,
a
but
point
you...
of- Your chair?
Point of order, yes, and I
I
dealt
was-
with it, allowing you not to talk about what you wanted to talk to,
No,
so
that's
then
not
we can...
true. It's not true.
Hang on, please.
I was told by
Okay,
administration.
hang on. Councillor Bjorkman, what was your point of order?
My point of order is that we should stay on
I agree.
discussion of Highway 3 and County Road 8 That's the discussion that we're having right now. There is a motion on the table.
That's right, and that's why I turn the floor back to you, Counselor.
I agree. But I'm also saying at the conclusion of this discussion, I want to raise something.
We're not talking about anything except this right here.
Okay, I'm
Okay?
okay with that. Why are you carrying on? I'm okay with that.
Okay, well, why do you want to go about something else now?
We'll
Just
talk
stick to
about it
this.
after, and on the promise area of talking about it tonight. So
Okay,
if I could.
now, you gave the floor up, I think, to me, and my question was, tonight, this thing says administration be requested to prepare a report in the vacant property, Highway 3 and 8, and its development plan or status.
Yes.
I'm asking the clerk, is this to be dealt with tonight, or is this a request for the next meeting for them to come up with the information?
Through your
That's
chair,
all I'm
this
asking.
is a motion that is on the floor. It was moved by Councillor Vokes, seconded by Councillor Bondi. It is for discussion and/or possible consideration by council this evening.
Okay, so our staff should have all the answers for them, is what I'm saying.
Through the chair, the motion is a request for administration to come back with a report. That's the
That's
motion.
the point I'm trying to make. Why are we going to ask them for answers tonight when, fill the report?
Point of clarification. Point of
Okay,
clarification.
yes, sir.
The motion, that's the motion that's being made. We're discussing the motion now and determining what exactly it is we're going to ask them to bring back to us. And that's why council is having a discussion with regard to that motion. They're not going to necessarily have all the information, but they'll know the information we're looking for after
Okay,
the discussion.
now I've got it. I've got it clear now. Okay, go ahead, Councilor Vokes, continue.
Thank you. Again, if I could turn to our acting treasurer, Jeff. Jeff, could you do me a favor, please? Could you multiply 458 times 3,000? And what's that total in dollars?
Through the chair, $1,374,000.
1,374,000. Now, could you take that and multiply that by 14, please?
Through the chair, $19,236,000.
19,236,000. So people, I want to point something out to you. When I got elected on council in 2004, when the Chuck Mady group come to us and proposed an opportunity to develop that land, just on home ownership alone, that project called for 458 homes being built in there. And he come to council and he asked for some assistance in getting it going. He hit a roadblock, it didn't happen. And my point to council is this, is we've all known that land's been vacant over there. And just on home tax recovery alone, in that time period, we threw away $20 million because we've done absolutely nothing to get an incentive program going there to get something started. And then on top of that, that plan called for fast food restaurants, banks, car dealerships, and grocery stores, big box stores even. And if you want to add that taxable revenue into that, I guarantee you it's another 20 million.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
I'm not.
This has
Yep,
got nothing to
okay.
do with
It
what we-
does. If I
Okay,
can.
Councilor Vokes, hang on.
Oh my God,
It's got nothing to do with what we're asking.
it does, if you let me finish.
Shh.
It's past
Count-
information.
Deputy Mayor Milosh has the floor, so if, okay, Deputy Mayor Milosh,
Go ahead.
now, so I can understand, could you repeat your point of order?
We're asking administration what we want them to report on, not what we didn't do or what a previous council didn't do. He's giving us information on something, in his opinion, of what happened at one point in time. He's not mentioning the fact that Mady's wanted to build a slum,
No, he didn't, by the way, but,
but I'm just saying. So we don't want to hear what past councils are doing. We want to hear, the business
Okay.
of tonight is, what do we want on a report that we want administration to prepare for us?
okay, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. So,
Okay,
So-
so I'm going to rule on that point of order before we go any further.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Deputy Mayor Milosh. So Councilor
Yeah.
Vokes is,
Sure.
he just stated, you know where
Yeah.
we're going.
okay, that's fine. So as a counselor, I'm very concerned with losing 40 million. So with all that being said, is I want council in the report to consider waiving development charges. Because if you look at the development charges based on 458,000 homes and our current fee at hand, is our lost revenue would be $5,400,000. So if we waive the development charges just on the home considering alone, I will gladly throw away $5 million in chance to recover 40 million. So all I'm asking is that council bring a report back that says to surrender the development charges for anybody, any developer who has interest in developing that property, working with the Valenti Group. And I want council to support that, or you either want to lose $35 million, your choice. That's it. Thank you.
Did administration get that? Administration, bring this report back, not council. Like, administration, bring a report back. I don't know the last part, how you're going to deal with that, but.
But I'm asking that the report, if I could.
Yep.
I'm asking that the report work with those numbers I just gave you.
Yeah, okay. Mrs. Hunter.
Through you, Your Worship, I think I'm trying right now to figure out what report we're bringing back, because I'm hearing we want a report on vacant lands that are in our inventory. I'm hearing that we want to talk about waiving DCs for Ward 1. What is it exactly that council wants? Because you've got two very distinct subject areas here.
It's my motion, Donna, so let me clear it up for you. What I'd really like to do is show in the report the lost taxable revenues as a result of that property being idle for just even a 10-year period, as opposed to starting development by waiving the DC charges on the return based on that. And how long would it take us to recover it? My guess is it'd be about one budget year if we waive the DC charges.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This motion that is here, and I've already read it, has now been changed. Am I right? And I'm asking administration that.
No, it hasn't.
Presumably, the motion that we have now on the floor, if council, if that's supported, would be with the directions further noted, but that would need support on the motion
Okay,
from
so-
Councillor Bondi.
That's right. I'm going to go back to Councilor Bondi. You seconded the motion that is in here, that he had served as a notice of motion. And we're dealing with it. Now, that motion that you supported is altogether changed, as you just heard. Are you still supporting this thing?
I would wish to support the motion as printed on the agenda.
And not all those,
I don't
that's all I'm
feel,
asking.
even though it may be helpful, I don't feel we need to spend a lot of staff time digging up old numbers because it's just going to bog up staff. If Councillor Vokes wants to request a report prepared on vacant land and properties, I want to go forward. I want to take this forward. If the councillor wants the numbers from the history, I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward.
What I need to find out is if you do second this. If you second it, we can vote on it, yes or no, one way or the other. But if you remove it, we need another seconder.
I seconded this motion,
Okay.
not the motion that has just been presented with staff going backwards.
Okay, so I will go back to the gentleman who made the motion.
It wasn't even a motion. There is no motion.
You've
Sherry
asked,
said I don't support the motion. There is no motion. The only motion on the floor is the one she agreed to support.
and I stop
And all
you.
I asked,
No, I can't, okay.
all I asked is that in the report, nothing's changing. There's still going to be a report given. All I'm asking is that in the report is look at an assumed 10-year loss as opposed to a immediate recovery. And to say we can't do that, how can you not? How can you not say, well,
Okay, I'm going to stop, I have to stop you again, Counselor, if I may. You did make a motion. You say you didn't make a motion. It's right here in the minutes. Moved by
It's not a
Counselor
motion.
Vokes. Look at your
It's a
agenda,
notice
sir.
of motion. I didn't make a
And
motion.
it is moved by Counselor Vokes, seconded
Yes.
by Counselor Bondi, that administration be requested to prepare a report on the vacant property, Highway 3 and County
Yes.
Road E, and its
Yes.
development plan or status.
Yes.
And then you added a whole bunch more stuff,
And
which
all I-
Counselor
yes,
Bondi
I
said she
did.
will not support that, is all I'm saying.
I agree with you, and all I'm asking her is to reconsider that. Sherry, all I'm asking is reconsider that as a comparable. What it means, what we could get and what we've lost. That's all.
Answered you, sir.
I don't know.
I want to go forward. To me, it's irrelevant what we lost. It's irrelevant, unfortunately, because it's lost. It's gone.
Okay, there is a notice of motion. There is a motion on the table, and we've gone back and forth. Everybody should be ready. You're staying with your support of this whole motion, but you say no, but yes.
As the motion as printed and published in our public agenda.
Not going to support everything that he has just said. Okay, so we need a seconder for what Councillor Folks,
Seconder with...
Councillor Bjorkman. I know, she's withdrawing, she's not going to support this, so she's taking her name off it. Is that right?
Yes, and Councilor Bjork.
Councillor Bjorkman.
Yes, I'm seconding with comment.
Okay, your comment being?
The comment is, what I believe the council is asking for is they're trying to build a case to waive development fees. You can't build a case without facts and looking at numbers. So the numbers we're looking for, the potential that we have lost, and if we continue to do nothing, then we can assume from that we will continue to lose. So I will second the motion, include it in, taking the amount of income that we could have had we had a fully developed area for the last 10 years, and the cost of waiving the development fees for the next 5 or whatever, or the next year, and we can, work off of that. But I believe that's what we're looking to do, and that's a worthwhile venture.
Okay. Yep, we're going to get clarification.
Just through the chair, I wish to ask Councillor Bondi, are you withdrawing support for the original motion that was moved and seconded as stated in the published agenda?
Well, yes, I will. So Councilor Bjork can.
Okay.
Councillor Bjorkman supporting this.
So that motion fails, so now we need, through the chair, Councillor Vokes is moving, seconded by Councillor Bjorkman?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone to speak to that motion? No one comment? Deputy Mayor Malash.
So with Councillor Bjorkman's explanation, I do understand a little bit better about what, maybe Councillor Vokes I just wasn't hearing what he was trying to, it wasn't exactly what I was hearing. So, I understand what you're trying to get across, but do understand that there were issues with the proposal that was made in the past. But if we could have ironed those out, yes, this potentially would have given us that extra revenue. So I am in agreement with getting that number. It's just a roundabout number. It's not specifics, it's how many lots and how many taxes we would have gained over the years, guessing again at what the assessment on those houses would have been.
Thank you, Councillor Vokes.
Just for the record, when Chuck Mady come to us, the Ministry of Transportation told us we had to enhance that intersection because Highway 3 wasn't developed at the time, and it meant the town had to contribute $250,000 to do that to help Chuck, and the town said no. That's what it was, Rich, just so you know.
Okay, anyone else to the motion? I got a couple comments. I know we lost this. Was it our fault? No, it wasn't our fault. In my eyes, it happened. I can't make anyone build a house or bring their business to Essex, start up something in Essex. I'm not against finding this information out when council has the time, or the administration has the time to do it. But why tonight? Like, here, this is what we're dealing with. Why don't we deal with it instead of keep trying to change all the rules all the time? We're changing rules. Gee, it's crow, it's getting to be a headache. I'm not against finding things out, but let's do it the proper way instead of, I got this women of prayer and here we go. But anyways, no one else wants to say anything? Mr. Clerk, away you go.
Thank you, Your Chair. Mr. Chair, on the motion that administration be requested to prepare a report on the vacant property at Highway 3 and County Road 8 and its development plan or status, together with the additional directions for said report, as stated by Councillor Vokes earlier this evening. Requested recorded vote. Councillor Vokes, how do you vote? Support. Councillor Bjorkman?
Support.
Councillor Snively? Councillor Bondi? Mayor McDermott?
Opposed?
Deputy Mayor Milosh?
Support.
Councillor Vokes supported. Councillor Bjorkman supported. Councillor Snively supported. Councillor Bondi supported. Mayor McDermott was opposed, and the Deputy Mayor Milosh supported. With a recorded vote of 5 in favor and 1 opposed, the motion carries. Item 15.2 on the agenda. Item 15.2 on the agenda are 4 notices of motion, 2 that were on the published agenda for this evening, presented by Councillor Vokes, and 2 that were added to the adopted agenda this evening by Councillor Snively. Once again, for clarity, this motion, these 4 motions are merely being presented this evening. They're not for action or discussion, but will be brought forward for consideration at the October 2nd regular council meeting. Under 15.2.1, the first notice of motion is from Councillor Vokes that the caboose at the train station be moved to Main Street to be used as a tourist information booth center. 15.2.2 is a notice of motion from Councillor Vokes that the 2-month suspended remuneration pursuant to Council Resolution R17-09358 from the September 5th, 2017 regular council meeting be donated by the town to the Arthritis Society. 15.2.3, as added by Councillor Snively this evening, is that administration provide a report on zero development fees for Ward 4, my apologies through the chair. And 15.2.4, Councillor Snively, if you can restate your motion, I missed that at the adoption of agenda. It concerned a 4-way stop.
Yeah, through your worship, Councillor Bondi brought this forward before. I'm requesting a 4-way stop, okay, at the corner of Center and Walnut.
Okay. Item 16 on the agenda, any reports from council members this evening?
I think we're starting with Councillor Bondi and going north, east. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we're all reported out. I just want to really congratulate Ms. Hunter on her appointment to the CAO position. I've only been on council 7 years. Well, it's been 7 years, and this is the first time in my almost 2 terms that the appointment of the CAO has been unanimous. So I'm thrilled that you're sticking around.
Thank you. Councillor Snively. Thank you. Councillor Bjorkman. Councillor Vokes.
I want to put a notice of motion in for the next meeting that talks about the integrity and the actions inside the council chambers during, before, or after a council meeting, and the responsibility of those attendees attending council and how they act while in the chambers.
Madam Clerk, or CAO.
Through you, Mr. Chair, is this the one that you were referring to earlier, Randy, that you said you could bring up tonight?
Thank you, Donna. CAO Hunter, look, this is the one that I sent an email to council saying I want to speak about what happened at the conclusion of the last council meeting. I was told that it was to go in camera. I didn't agree with that. So then I was told I could speak about it tonight, but I can't mention no one's name. And I said, I'm okay with that. So I'm here tonight to talk about it, and now I'm being told I can't talk about it. I don't care who handles it. I don't need it handled tonight, because obviously there's a communication breakdown. That little class we took before coming here, I guess we really needed that. But with all that being said, I'll just put a notice of motion forward right now to speak about it at the next council meeting. I don't want to hear any more about it tonight.
Going to hear something, because,
Okay, well then let's hear it.
Madam,
Through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to mention, Brandy, that when we spoke about it, I said you could add it as a new business item, which means you have to add it at the beginning of the agenda when new business items are normally added. That didn't happen, so unfortunately, we are in that position of looking at it for the next meeting.
You're right, Donna. You're 100% right. You are right. I'll acknowledge when I'm wrong, and you're right. She's 100% right. So let's talk about it at the next meeting. Thank you, Donna. You're right. You're 100% right.
wow, I'm glad you thought of that, finally. Thank you.
Careful what you say. We haven't talked about it yet.
You be careful of what you say.
Item 17, any announcements this evening?
Yes, there is.
Hang on, please. Okay, Deputy Mayor Malash, we'll go this way this time.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just want to remind everybody that there's the COAN Appreciation Dinner happening on Saturday, September 30th. I do have tickets. They're $15 per person for a steak barbecue dinner with all the trimmings and dessert. There's going to be a ball diamond dedication to longtime Essex resident John Alexander, who's done wonders for Essex or McGregor Minor Baseball. Been a founding member of the COAN Park and so on. So if you want tickets, September the 30th, $15 a person. You can get steak or chicken. Just let me know after the meeting. Dinner's at 6.
Thank you, sir. Council votes.
Yeah, I'd just like the town to maybe send a letter to the Ramsey family. Unfortunately, we lost a longtime resident and an advocate of the town of Essex, Garth Ramsey, who passed away, and at one time held a seat as a councillor in the town of Essex. So I'd like to just send something from the town of Essex to his family, recognizing and expressing our condolences.
And is council in support of that recommendation? Yeah. We got all nodding heads? Okay, thank you. You got direction from council, all of council, so to do that letter, right? Okay, thanks. Mrs. Hunter again.
Through you, Your Worship, I don't have it with me tonight, we do have a condolences policy that tells us what we do and when, and so can I have that direction subject to making sure it's within our policy? Because I would hate to think that we recognize one person and not another person. That may have happened in the last while, so I just want to make sure we're consistent, because there's one thing that is not very nice is when one person passed away, we didn't recognize it, another one passes away and we do. So I would just like to verify with our policy to make sure. I think it might be okay, but I just want to verify if I may.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Everyone agrees to that, I imagine. Okay, thank you. Councilor Bjorkman.
Thank you. Through your worship, on September 29th, the BIA will be hosting a street party downtown in Essex Center. It's from 3:30 to 7:30. There'll be live music down there. A lot of the stores have tables that'll be set up. There's a couple of tents down there. There'll be food and face painting for the kids, a few different things for the young ones. So come on out and enjoy Essex Center. Bring your families. And then on October 13th, the BIA with the Rotary Club will be putting on their Excellence Awards dinner, and they'll be awarding different businesses in Essex Center. It's open to the public. It's $15 a person. The Rotary will be doing the cooking and the food. So we're looking forward to a good time there. But the first one is September 29th, 3:30 to 7:30, right downtown Essex. Thank you.
Sure. Councillor Snively.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want everybody to remember that next week is Legion Week, and not to forget our veterans that had the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. So next week is, all week is Legion Week. Thank you. Yeah, this week here. Pardon me, this week, yeah. Yep.
For that. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you. Essex Center Walkabout, I have it in my calendar, we didn't mention it yet. So September 25th at 5 o'clock, we are meeting at, boom, 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 Town Hall, maybe?
Through the chair, Town Hall.
Town Hall, and members of the public are welcome. Council and some staff members walk up in town, up and down the streets in Essex Center and look at what we've done and where we want to go and improvements and how we can help our businesses.
Thank you for that. I might ask Mr. Sweet, how many years is that our minor hockey early bird? What was that this year? How many? 40? 4-0. Wow. Anyways, this past weekend started Thursday and it's Sunday evening. We had the 40th annual Essex Minor Hockey Early Bird Tournament, and they come from all over the place. I heard we had one championship team. I haven't got verification of that. I heard we had one. I know my grandson's team made it to the semifinals. Got beat by a really big team, probably a year older than our guys. But Essex did well, and to everyone, Mr. Sweet, you make sure you pass down from the municipality. What a great job. All the staff and everybody involved in minor hockey, what they did. Like, that's 40 years in a row, and people just clamor to get here because you do such a great job at presenting everything for everyone. So thank you very much for that. And what was the other one? There's one other thing that I had. Boy, that was so important to forget the next one. Anyways, I guess that's it. Skip me. What was it? That's good. Okay. Where you go. All right.
18.1, bylaws for third reading this evening. 1638 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings from the September 5th regular council meeting.
Moved by Councillor Bjorkman, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
18.2, bylaws for first, second, third, and final reading this evening. 1641 being a bylaw to appoint a building inspector, bylaw enforcement officer for the town of Essex.
Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Better hurry, he's already celebrating. All in favor? Motion carries.
Bylaw 1640 being a bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer for the town of Essex.
Moved by Councillor Snively, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? Too late. All in favor? Motion carries.
Bylaw 1643 to authorize an agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs and the town of Essex in reference to the Rural Economic Development Program Agreement.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Malash, supported by Councillor Snively. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries.
And under item 18.3, bylaws for first and second reading this evening is 1642 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this September 18th regular council meeting.
Moved by Councillor Bondi, supported by Councillor Bjorkman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. And looking for adjournment, I see on this one it says time at 8:04. Deputy Mayor Malash, supported by Councillor Snively. All in favor? Motion carries. Have a great evening, everyone.